Hey, so I began this city about 4 hours ago, and it has 400,000 people in it, man. So, the big jump between, 50,000 and 100,000 is when you go from only low density crap to some a little bit of medium density crap. So like, if you consider, I've got all of my utilities along the bottom here, and I've got a train track that goes in a cute little square around the whole place. And passenger trains are actually crazy good, because they're not slowed by traffic, and they go like 90 miles per hour instead of like 25, which is what buses do. Anyway, big difference between 50 and 100 is just zoning, and then the big difference between 100 and anything greater than that is your public transportation, right? The more people you can get to use public transportation, the better your traffic can be, and the more you can grow. I actually am still about half of this is zoned to medium density. Only the northern side is really high density. And you don't need to zone your whole thing high density, because then more people will move in than you really are capable of moving in, and that's no fun. So I've got a tiny bit of unemployment. It's really important that you never have any unemployment as you're building your city. You always want unsatisfied jobs. You want more jobs than people, because then your factories will close. Oh, boo-hoo. Who cares if a factory closes as long as there's enough jobs for everyone, right? But when you don't have enough jobs, you get homeless people, and homeless people are not good, man. Not good. They count as people, yet they're homeless. It's very sad. Tourism is crap. Educate your dudes. Don't educate anyone until about 100,000, and then educate everyone. I only use community colleges and elementary schools, and only like one of each. Actually, at this point I have two of each, but that wasn't until really late on. You'll notice, even though I only have like 2 factories, I have tons of unfilled freight orders. Like yellow industrial is like silly. It's just good for providing jobs. It's not very useful in any other way. What you really want is shoppers, man. But in order to get shoppers, you have to have people. And in order to get people, you have to have jobs for them. So you create all this, industrial factory nonsense just to get people in, and then you can replace it with commercial zoning later on. Anyway, I've gotten to 200,000 like 3 times now, and it's easy to get to 200,000. It's hard to get past 200,000. So how did I get from 200 to 400? And the answer there comes down to this. Where is it, man? You got to go into your streetcar view, and just click this button. And look at these little lines. You notice how I have a bunch of streetcar stops all next to each other? I didn't know that you had to do that. Each streetcar stop can only hold a maximum of 300 passengers. So I had one streetcar stop here and there all spread around my city, and I couldn't get past 200,000 people, and I was like, what's going on? How come I've seen other people with 300,000 or something? By the way, the biggest city on the leaderboard when I checked, for anyone else, was 300,000. So I actually have the biggest city I've ever seen. It's pretty funny. Anyway, so just go into your streetcar view and look for any stops with a giant blue line. And if any of them are maxed out like this, just put another one right next to it, and then another one right next to it, and so on and so forth. Because what was happening is this factory, for example, probably employs 5,000 people, and all 5,000 of them get out at the same time and try to go home. And 300 of them would wait for the streetcar. And then 125 of them, let's switch to the bus view, 125 of them would wait for the bus. Right? They'd go to this bus stop, and then the bus stop would be full, and then everyone else would drive their car. So there was this rush hour traffic that I just couldn't get past, couldn't get bigger than a certain city size. until I realized that you got to duplicate things. You got to throw down 100 copies of everything. So you notice how I've like bus stop every couple feet. Each one of these is maxed out 125, 125, 125, 125. And park and rides right at the entrance of your city. You should do this like almost from the very beginning. As soon as people drive in from the region, they have the opportunity to leave their car at the entrance and use your public transit from there, and that reduces traffic a lot. But each of these park and rides can only hold 80 passengers at a time. So for most of the game you only need one, but eventually you need more. And you can see I'm even maxed out with 6. You need like, actually I've got 7 all right here, and you need even more than that to reduce traffic. So it's all about reducing traffic and not having a giant mismatch between the number of workers and the number of jobs. So I have 3 bus depots and 3 streetcar depots, but one of my bus depots is closed right now because if you look at my budget, it's like almost entirely education and transportation, right? I don't have to spend money on anything else, but I have to spend so much money just to reduce the traffic in order to get a really high population like this. For most of the game, I had the taxes at 7%. I just raised them now because I wanted to experiment. I was actually at 350,000 with only 1 streetcar station and 1 bus depot, but I just wanted to see if throwing down 3 of each would really help me, and it did allow me to get from 350 to 400, but I would say it definitely wasn't worth it because I was making 400k a month before I added them, and now I'm making 0. So, yeah. But anyway, my goal was just to make the city as big as possible, and that's what I did. No parks. If you build parks, homeless people will live in them anyway, so they won't do anything. So don't even bother building them. You can see lots of my people are unhappy with me, but my overall satisfaction is quite high. What happens is if you click this. So what happens... Oh, sorry, this is the wrong one. Here we go. The little yellow line is how much money they have, right? If somebody's... Each day they bring home some money from their job, and they pay some money for rent, and then they go shopping and spend some of their money. And whatever they have left over, they save until the next day. And they do it again and again and again. They also pay taxes out of that money. So if your taxes are really low, then good. It's like you're subsidizing their life. You're giving them a little bit of money every day. But if their rent is super high and their job doesn't pay very much, they're going to run out of money regardless of what you set the taxes to. So what you want to do is have everyone's rent be crazy low. And so I usually zone a whole bunch of stuff that I want people to move into, and then lower taxes. So they'll stay at like medium density for a long time. They've reached this equilibrium where they're earning exactly enough to get by, and then when you lower taxes, they have a little bit of extra money each day, and they grow and grow. Anyway, so you can see in the land value map, it's almost all white. There's very little green, and that means that almost everyone I have here is poor, but it also means that their rent is super low, so they will increase density like all the time, and they will never become homeless because they actually have cash. This guy actually, hilariously enough, is complaining that he doesn't have cash. I'm having some traffic problems since I grew to 400,000. That's why I'm stuck there. I'm sure if I can figure that out, that I can get the city to be bigger and bigger. Yeah, there's still a lot more room to grow. There's still a lot of low density stuff. We can look at the density map. Where is a density map? Boom, boom, boom. So only the blue buildings are maximum density. Right, so there's this little corner over here where almost everything is maximum density, but then all this stuff is like medium, and these are low and low and low and low, and some high density on the other side. So all through the center is pretty medium density. So theoretically, I'm sure you could get 1 million people if you had perfect transportation somehow, but I don't think that, you know, in practice, I don't know how it would be possible. Anyway. Good times, man. It's funny that I did like a very, very beginner's guide, and then I did a very, very like end game guide, and nothing in the middle. But with the server problems, you can basically play for 8 hours in a row as long as you only stick to one city and you never start over or do anything like that, and that means that making guides is kind of a pain. Bye.